Have you ever looked at the clock at exactly 4:44? More than once? What if that number is trying to tell you something? Not a simple coincidence, but our gentle alert, a silent call coming from a place we can't see, but we can feel it. And if the number 444 is appearing in your life as Adivine sign, sent by an angel trying to protect you before something happens, maybe this has already happened to you, and you didn't even realize it. It all started strangely. First, the number appeared on my phone screen for 44 p.m. hours later, on my supermarket receipt. And the next day, license plate, video time, even the purchase price, 44.40 reals. It seemed to follow me. At first I thought it was paranoia, but the frequency, the feeling in my stomach, and the restlessness in my chest said otherwise. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever felt like something invisible was trying to warn you? What you're about to discover may surprise you. On this spiritual journey that so many of us take, sometimes in silence, sometimes in desperate search for answer, signs emerge that we cannot explain. Repeating numbers as 444 does not appear by chance. For many people, including spiritual scholars, this number is linked to the presence of guardian angels, beings of light that surround us in moments of danger, doubt, or transformation. Is this just a coincidence or a sign? The truth is, the more we ignore these little calls, the more they try to reach us. And when we finally listen, everything changes. Some people report that 444 appeared moments before an accident, before a loss, or before a life-changing decision. There is an invisible presence acting behind the scenes of these stories, and it acts even when we don't believe it. Maybe you're getting this kind of signal right now. Maybe it happened last week, or maybe it will happen soon. But after what you're about to hear here, you will never ignore these signs again. Stay until the end, because the last detail of this story is the most unbelievable. And as you listen, think, what if it were you? Have you ever felt like something was protecting you? Without explanation, a delay that made you avoid a place, an urge to change your route, an inner voice telling you, don't go. If you've ever had that feeling that someone invisible was helping you, you need to see this. Comment if you've ever felt something like this. You're not alone. Many people around the world report similar experiences, and almost all of them start with subtle signs. A repetition of numbers, a strange dream, a shiver out of nowhere. This story begins like any other, but ends with a sign that even science can't explain. And there's something here that no one notices, but once you understand, everything changes. Now take a deep breath, because what happened in the next moment was the turning point that made me see the world in a completely different way. That morning, after a night marked by a strange dream where a soft, almost whispered voice kept repeating, "Be careful today," I woke with my heart racing and a feeling I couldn't explain. I ignored it for a few minutes, as we often do when the invisible tries to touch our visible world. But then I glanced at my phone. 444. That chilled my chest. It was the 5th time that week alone. A number, a warning, a presence. When it was time to leave home, something inside me said, change the route. I hesitated. It was a longer, more time-consuming route. But something was pulling me away from that usual path, and I went. It was only later that I discovered a serious accident, exactly where I would have passed. And in that moment, I knew I was not alone. That someone or something had touched me, warned me, freed me. And now I need to ask you. Have you ever experienced something like this, an inexplicable feeling of protection, a strong intuition, a coincidence that seemed more like a message? If you've ever felt something similar, tell me in the comments. Your story might touch someone today, and maybe someone needs to read exactly what you have to say. Here, every comment carries energy, and that's what keeps this space alive. This channel exists because there are people like you feeling awakening. So if this spoke to you, like the video and show that you are not alone in this your presence. Here, your like, your comment. All of this makes this message reach more hearts. And if you feel that this type of content welcomes you, connects you with something bigger, subscribe to the channel. This shows that you want to continue walking with us, listening and sharing stories that don't fit into logic, but make sense to the soul, because this isn't just a video. It's a space for those who believe in the invisible, the inexplicable. For those who feel, even without seeing, participate with your energy. Tell me, what did this story remind you of? And it was only after that, with my heart still racing, that everything became clear. But what came next was even more unbelievable. That it was after that day that everything changed. From the moment I realized the numbers 444 were following me, I also realized that something much bigger was unfolding behind the scenes of my life. Something I hadn't stopped to see clearly until then. It wasn't just a coincidence or a curious detail of everyday life. It was a kind of silent, insistent code, trying to draw my attention to something I needed to understand. And maybe this is happening to you too, even if you haven't realized it yet. The truth is, there are signs that don't shout, but whisper. And when we live on autopilot, these whispers go unnoticed. But the universe, God, the angels, whatever you want to call them, have a very peculiar way of making themselves heard when something important is about to happen. And that's exactly what started happening to me. A silent, repeated, almost invisible pattern, until it became impossible to ignore. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because behind each repetition of the number 444, there was something more, a sense of urgency, as if I were being guided to a decisive moment. A crossroads between what I thought was just intuition and what was, in fact, a spiritual presence trying to prepare me for something big. And that's when I started paying attention not only to the external signs, but also to the internal ones, the emotions, the chills, the feeling that something was wrong without knowing what. Have you ever felt this? This journey led me to explore the deeper meaning of 444 in various spiritual traditions and even in more esoteric branches of numerology. This number represents stability, divine protection, and the manifestation of the presence of celestial beings around us. It's like a reminder that you are not alone, that there is an invisible army walking with you, especially in moments when everything seems unstable. It's a sign that there's something important to understand. And here comes the curious thing. The more I connected with it, the more the signs intensified. It wasn't just on the clock or the signs. It was in someone's speech, unknowingly repeating the number. It was in dreams, in random songs, in sensations that arose without logical explanation. When we open ourselves to presence, it begins to manifest itself in increasingly clear ways. And, little by little, I began to understand that what seemed small actually had a much greater impact on my trajectory than I imagined. Now, let me tell you something you might never have stopped to think about. Many life-changing decisions are made not in a shout, but in silence. They arise from these subtle nudges, from this restlessness that seems to come from nowhere. And if you learn to recognize this, you can completely transform your way of life. Because it's not just about angels or signs, it's of presence, of awakening. That it was at this point in my journey that I realized, either I continued to ignore it and remain asleep inside, or I accepted that I was being called to something greater. And I chose the latter. That's when my mindset began to shift. My decisions became more conscious. And the most incredible thing, I began to feel protected. Yes, truly protected. As if someone were watching my steps, putting me at the right time, in the right place, and keeping me away from dangers I didn't even know existed. Now tell me, have you ever felt like you were just barely saved? That you changed your mind at the last minute and then realized something bad could have happened? That someone said a simple phrase that seemed tailored to you? These are small cracks in logic, where spirituality seeps in, where the invisible infiltrates, and that's when everything starts to make sense. Now I want to go even deeper into this line. Because the more I delved into this frequency, the more I realized it wasn't just a personal coincidence, it was a collective thing, as if thousands of people around the world were awakening at the same time to these same messages, as if there were a hidden truth coming to light. Dan, numbers were the key to unlocking it. Have you ever had that feeling, that something is revealing itself, even if you don't know what it is yet? At this point, the transformation stops being just spiritual and begins to touch concrete areas of life. Relationships, decisions, even the way you deal with your fears and blocks. The signs don't just appear to comfort, they appear to prepare, guide, alert. That's why many people only realize their importance when it's too late. And maybe that's exactly why you're here now, listening to this, because there's still time to listen. What if all this is happening because you're part of something bigger? What if you're one of those people who feels, senses, carries something different inside Evan, if you've never been able to put it into words? I believe that if you've gotten this far, it wasn't by chance. If this message spoke to you, comment below. There are many of us. It was a morning like any other, the kind where you wake up on autopilot, brush your teeth without even thinking, and grab your phone just to check the time. But when I looked at the screen, there it was, 4:44. For a second, I didn't even think about it. It was just a number, right? But something inside me felt uneasy. I can't quite explain why. I just know that sequence resonated with me. I ignored it. I went on with my day. And that's when things started to get weird. A few hours later, at the bakery checkout, the purchase amount was exactly $44.40. The attendant smiled and joked. Repeated numbers bring luck. I laughed back, but a question echoed inside me. Not again. That same afternoon, when I opened a message on my cell phone, I noticed that the audio time was 4 minutes and 44 seconds. And when I went to park my car at the end of the day, guess what? The license plate of the vehicle parked in front of me ended in 444. That sequence was everywhere. And it wasn't just a curiosity anymore. It was as if something or someone wanted to make sure I saw it. As if life had gone into silent alert mode. Have you ever felt like something was showing you a hidden truth, and everything around you seemed to conspire to make you pay attention? Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because what seems like mere coincidence to some can be a powerful revelation to those who are awake. The number 444 carries a vibration that transcends cultures, traditions, and even personal beliefs. It appears when we are about to face a transformation, something that can change our course, our mindset, our destiny. And that week, I was in the midst of important decisions, silently stifling doubts I'd avoided facing, as if my world had become too quiet. Before the storm, the strangest thing is that, on the outside, everything seemed normal. But inside, I felt pressure. A sense that something was moving behind the scenes. You know, that unfounded restlessness, that strange feeling that time is speeding up and you need to understand something before it's too late. That was exactly it, and then I began to remember other times when subtle signs tried to warn me on that I ignored. People who said seemingly banal phrases, but which I now realize were disguised messages. Dreams that returned repeatedly, with the same image, the same number. Even that shiver for no apparent reason. At crucial moments, it wasn't madness, it was presence. There's something important in all this, and we don't always recognize it. At the time, only then, when we look back and connect the dots. But what if we didn't have to wait for later? What if we started training our eyes now, paying more attention to the small details? Sometimes the invisible is screaming, but silently. I clearly remember the moment I realized, this isn't just a number. This is a code, a kind of message that only makes sense when you open your heart to listen. And I'm not talking about seeing an angel with wings or hearing voices from beyond. I'm talking a butrefined perception, of feeling the world with a sensitivity that goes beyond logic. It's at this point that the answers begin to arrive. And, believe me, they do. Now let me tell you something few people understand. Signs appear when you're vulnerable, when some part of your soul is about to awaken. It was exactly like that for me. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew that number, that sequence, was a warning. Something was going to happen. And it did. But before that, the frequency increased. 444 began appearing in places I never expected, and each time it appeared, something inside me accelerated. As if my body knew before my mind. As if my soul was saying, pay attention now, don't fall asleep again. It's hard to put into words what this feeling evokes. It's like you're in the dark, and suddenly someone turns on a flashlight. The light doesn't reveal everything, but it shows you enough to know there's something bigger there. Something approaching. A turning point. A calling. What about you? Have you ever experienced something like this? Have you ever felt like the universe was trying to speak to you, but you couldn't translate the message right away? Sometimes, angels whisper where we only hear them as shouts. But the signal is there, steady, persistent, insistent, waiting for attention. Comment here. That makes sense to me. In a matter of days, the number 444 went from being a curious detail to a constant presence. It was as if it followed me, appearing in the most unexpected places, at random yet deeply meaningful moments. I could be in the middle of a trivial conversation, and my gaze would slide to the corner of my computer screen. There it was, 444. Another day, I opened the book I was reading, and the page I'd stopped at, without marking it, was 444. Even my phone notifications came at that time. It was impossible not to notice. But more than seeing it, I felt with each repetition, something inside me stirred. A flutter in my stomach, a slight shiver, a kind of silent alert, as if my body already knew something was approaching. It was a discomfort difficult to explain. It wasn't fear, exactly, but a kind of tension in the air. As if I were being watched. Or guided. A sense of presence, invisible but constant. I began paying attention to everything. To the sounds, to the thoughts that came to me when the number appeared, to the coincidences that seemed too small to make sense, and too big to ignore. And this profoundly affected my mindset because, until then, I thought it was just coincidence. But it wasn't. It was a pattern. Repetition with purpose. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the frequency of these signs says much more than it seems. The more often they appear, the more urgent the message. It's not about superstition, it's about synchronicity. Life has its own codes, and when you begin to decipher them, you discover that there's an intelligence behind what seemed random. And this intelligence, whether you're religious, spiritual, mystical, or skeptical, is constantly trying to align us with something greater, something that goes beyond what we understand as reality. That's when I started questioning everything, my habits, my decisions, even what I was emotionally ignoring. Because, if the signs were appearing, it was because something inside me needed to be adjusted. I started observing my thoughts at the exact moment I saw the 444s, and I noticed a pattern. Whenever I was in doubt, in conflict, or about to make an important decision, there they were. Like a reminder, you are not alone. Listen better. And that's when I understood, signs don't change circumstances. They change you. You start to think differently. You start to make more conscious decisions. You begin to realize that there's an invisible thread connecting things and that nothing, absolutely nothing, happens by chance. This is the most powerful impact of this experience. It's not about numbers. It's about transformation. It's about being present enough to not live on autopilot, because it's in the silence, in the details, that the message gets through. And when you open yourself to this, revelations come cascading down. You realize how many times you've been shielded and never even noticed. How many times something went wrong only to actually save you from something worse. Your mind begins to expand. Your intuition strengthens. Life stops being just a sequence of events. It becomes a journey with purpose, and that changes everything. The way you listen to people, how you respond to challenges, how you experience the world. Because now, you know you're not alone. There's someone, or something, walking beside you, guiding you, even when you can't see it. And you know what's most amazing? The frequency increased even more after I began to accept this. It was as if I had unlocked a channel of communication with the invisible. And when I stopped fighting logic and started trusting my feelings, everything began to flow. Opportunities, encounters, even moments of silence seemed to have more meaning, as if my life were being stitched together with greater care. But of course, it wasn't always easy. There were times when the presence of 444 caused me anxiety. The constant repetition sometimes felt like a scream, a plea for attention I didn't know how to respond to. And that's when I realized how much our internal resistance gets in the way. We want ready-made answers, clear signs, rational explanations. But the spiritual speaks another language, a subtle, symbolic, profound language. And if you don't learn to listen with your soul, it goes unnoticed. Now look how curious. The more I surrendered, the more I remembered past moments in my life where signs were present but I didn't see them. I remembered a trip I almost took, but decided against it due to a strange premonition. Later, I discovered that something serious happened along the way. I remembered a relationship that ended suddenly, and which, at the time, seemed unfair. Today, with more awareness, I see that it was protection. That the end was, in fact, a beginning in disguise. And in those episodes, although I didn't see numbers, I felt it. The presence was there, guiding me even when I thought I was lost. So, if the 444 are appearing to you now, maybe what you need is not to understand immediately. Observe. Be willing to listen with your heart. Because sometimes the signal doesn't come with an answer. It comes with direction. And only later, down the road, do you understand the importance of the moment you chose to trust. Show me that you are here. With me, writes I continue. When the presence of the 444 became too strong to ignore, I did what any restless person would do. I began searching for answers. And that's when I typed, with my hands almost shaking, the question that had been haunting me for days. Spiritual meaning of number 444. Little did I know that what I was about to encounter would completely change the way I viewed life. Among the thousands of results, some phrases kept repeating themselves. Message from angels, divine presence, spiritual protection. But what caught my attention most was something simple and straightforward. 444 is a sign that angels are near. And they want you to know it. That stopped me in my tracks. It was as if someone had written it especially for me. As if the universe was giving me an answer I already felt but hadn't yet had the courage to accept as truth. I kept reading. I discovered that 444, for many spiritualist and esoteric traditions, represents structure, stability, a call to align body, mind, and spirit. But it can also mean spiritual urgency, a kind of warning that you're at a decisive point in your journey, a crossroads, where your next decisions will define the course of things you can't even see yet but already feel. That part got me, because that's exactly how I felt. In the middle of an invisible path, surrounded by doubts, with my heart racing and my mind full of forebodings. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because, in truth, what we call a sign is much more than a pretty number that appears. It's a summons, a push from the universe, a spiritual code that pulls you to wake up. And when you start paying attention, you realize that signs are always connected to the decisions you've been putting off, to the changes you feel you need to make but put off, to what you know you need to leave behind but still hold on to. 444 is like a knock on the door of the soul saying, hey, it's time. Are you ready? And the strongest part of all this is that to feel you don't need anyone to convince you, because it's not something external trying to force you to believe. It's something internal, deep, that begins to vibrate when this number appears. A feeling that there is an intelligence guiding the scenes of your existence, and that this intelligence is now, right now, trying to align you with something much greater than you imagine. That as I read accounts of others who also saw 444, I began to notice a pattern. Most of them were going through some decisive moment, the end of a cycle, the beginning of a new path, losses, revelations, profound transitions. It was as if the number appeared when the soul was vulnerable and, therefore, more receptive. This connection between fragility and spiritual presence touched me in a very personal way, because, deep down, I too was at a crossroads. And that number was no longer just a number. It was companionship. And when we understand that it exists, invisible, guiding us, protecting us, leading us with silent love, everything changes. The way you deal with pain changes. The rush to solve everything, to understand everything, to have everything under control diminishes. You learn to trust more, to accept that there is a flow, a sequence of events that may seem chaotic, but that is, in fact, taking you exactly where you need to be. But not everything is comfortable in this process. Because sometimes the answer you find is exactly the one you didn't want to hear. Maybe you're holding on to something you need to let go of. Maybe you're trying to control something you simply need to trust. And that's when the signal appears. Not to scare you, but to prepare you, and you feel it. In your chest, in your eyes, that fill with unexplained tears, in your body that trembles. For no reason, it's the invisible shaking you inside. I started noticing not just the number, but what I was thinking when it appeared, and I noticed a subtle pattern. Every time it appeared, I was trying to make an important decision, but I was afraid. It was as if 444 was showing up to say, go with faith. You are not alone. And that kind of confirmation changes everything. Because it's not just a belief, it's a living experience. You feel it, you breathe it, as if you had a greater force at your side whispering, you are on the right path. Just trust. After this research, after so many confirmations, a strange peace began to emerge, and, at the same time, a good restlessness, a desire to delve deeper. To understand who these angels were, how they communicated, how I could hear more clearly. Because once you feel that connection, you can't go back to who you were before. Speak in the comments. I am a chosen one. And when you begin to see life through this lens that of signs, of subtle presences, of messages hidden in the ordinary, everything begins to transform. You no longer see a number on the clock. You feel a code unfolding. You no longer face challenges the same way. Because now you understand that there's a purpose being woven behind every moment, no matter how confusing it may seem. It's as if you're being guided by something greater, something that knows exactly where you need to go, even when you don't yet. And if you feel that this calling is also for you, that this frequency hasn't been appearing by chance, then perhaps it's time to deepen this connection even further. So, if it resonates with you, take a look at the material I've left below. It's something I prepared with great care. Reading your birth angel, it's direct, practical, and can save you a lot of time trying to understand, on your own, what the invisible world is trying to show you. This content complements what we've talked about here and can be a key to connecting with the personalized guidance from the angelic kingdom, especially now that so many transformations are in motion. It's here in the description, but I might take it down in the next few days. So, if it's useful to you, take advantage of it while it's still available, because sometimes the answer we're waiting for is closer than we think. And just when I thought it was just me, that this 444 sequence was a personal coincidence, perhaps a delusion of my heightened sensitivity, I discovered I wasn't alone. I started digging deeper into forums, videos, interviews, books, and the same thing kept happening. Thousands of people around the world reporting identical experiences in the same number, in the same frequency, with the same sense of presence. It was as if something invisible was communicating with an entire generation at the same time. Discreet celebrities, renowned spiritual authors, and even open-minded scientists have reported remarkable encounters with the number 444 in moments of crisis, doubt, or change. And most strikingly, many described exactly what I had felt: the chills, the heaviness in the air, the intuition screaming that something greater was at work behind the scenes. People from different cultures, with different beliefs, in completely different countries, experiencing the same thing. This made me understand that the sign is universal. It doesn't depend on religion, language, or place. It's a call that transcends reason and touches directly on the spirit. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when multiple people begin reporting the same type of phenomenon in different places and times, it's because a hidden truth is being revealed. A kind of collective alignment. As if we were being awakened, one by one, but with a common purpose. A collective call to reconnect with something sacred that the rush of modern life has made us forget. And this completely changes the way you view spirituality. It ceases to be something isolated, overly mystical, distant, and becomes alive, present, shared. I've seen interviews with famous singers saying that 444 appeared repeatedly before they made important decisions that would completely change their careers. I've seen writers report that this number sequence would appear in moments of creative conflict, as if confirming that they were being inspired by something beyond their logical mind. And I've seen many ordinary people like you and me tell real stories of protection, deliverance, moments of powerful intuition, always accompanied by this same number. It's as if there's a sacred code operating behind life. And 444 is a password that only the awakened can perceive. And when you tap into this frequency, everything starts to vibrate differently. Conversations change. Encounters change. You start attracting people who are also on this path. And suddenly you realize that is no longer living on autopilot. He is waking up. This realization has a profound impact on your journey, because when you feel you're not alone, you allow yourself to take more risks, trust more, and give more. And confidence doesn't just come from what you see, it comes from what you feel, from knowing there's something bigger protecting you, pushing you in the right direction. And sometimes, that push comes in the form of a number, a sign, a repetition that insists on appearing until you stop, breathe, and listen. Many of these accounts also speak of moments. Oftentimes transformation people who left abusive relationships after watching 444 weeks straight. Others who left toxic jobs, moved cities, and started over. Not because they had all the answers, but because they felt the call and decided to trust. That's where a very beautiful part of this experience comes in. Signs don't take away your responsibility, amplify your awareness. They don't solve everything for you, but they show you that there is a force walking alongside you. And if you're seeing this number frequently, perhaps you're also joining this collective wave. Perhaps you're also being called to trust your intuition more, your decisions, your path. And if there's one thing the thousands of reports show, it's that when you listen, something changes. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And that's the most powerful change there is. Because once you feel this connection, you no longer accept half-hearted living. You seek truth, you seek purpose, you seek presence. The most fascinating thing is that these reports don't just come from spiritual people. They also come from skeptics, who, after a while of resisting, began to realize that not everything can be explained, but everything can be felt. And that's what 444 is, a deep feeling that takes you to a new state of consciousness. A gentle but firm reminder that the invisible is also real. What was the strongest signal you ever received? Comment below. And then, as if everything that was already happening wasn't enough, the dream came. But it wasn't just any dream. It was different, incredibly vivid. It was as if I were awake, but on another plane. The atmosphere was peaceful, yet charged with an intense, dense, and yet welcoming energy. There was light, but it wasn't ordinary light. It was a light that seemed to pulse with ancient wisdom, as if carrying centuries of secrets. And it was there, in this landscape between the real and the invisible, that he appeared. A being of indescribable presence. I saw no wings, nor any precise form, but I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that it was an angel. The mind tries to seek logical explanations, but the heart simply recognizes. He looked at me, or perhaps he enveloped me in his consciousness, and spoke only one sentence, short, to the point, but so charged with meaning that just remembering it still gives me goosebumps. You need to be careful today. That was it, and in that moment, time seemed to freeze. I felt those words carry a real impact, one that transcended dreams. It was a warning, a wake-up call, and it wasn't symbolic. It was urgent. I woke up with my body cold, my heart racing, and a feeling that something big was about to happen. It wasn't fear, it was awareness. A silent truth washed over me. I had been warned, and now, the responsibility was mine. I had to pay attention to every detail of my day, every decision, every person who crossed my path. I woke up feeling different, with my senses heightened, as if the world had become clearer and more fragile at the same time. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. Because dreams like this aren't daydreams, they're revelations. They're like gaps in routine where the spiritual can reach the earthly. And what touched me most was realizing that this message didn't come when everything was calm, but precisely at a moment when I was disconnecting from myself, living on autopilot, making impulsive decisions, ignoring my intuition. It was as if the angel was saying, if you keep this up, something will happen. But there's still time, and that changed everything. My outlook, my mindset, even the way I breathed that day. It's interesting how, after something like this, you begin to see the behind the scenes of your life with new eyes. Small gestures take on greater meaning. A delay that would normally cause irritation begins to seem like a divine deviation. An unexpected encounter stops being just a coincidence and becomes part of a secret alignment. Everything changes when you understand that you are being guided, and even more so when you recognize that you were protected, even without knowing exactly what would have happened if that warning hadn't come. Throughout the day, the signs continued. Signs, glances, internal noises, and of course, the number 444, everywhere. It was as if the universe was echoing the dream's message in the form of a symbol. And each time I saw it, I felt that vibration return. Attention, I went about my day as consciously as possible. I avoided some impulsive decisions. I said no to strange invitations. I canceled a meeting, and in the end, I discovered that something very serious had happened exactly where I would have been. At the time, I would have been if I hadn't changed my plans. This experience taught me something I carry with me to this day. When we truly connect, the invisible world begins to act more powerfully. And dreams, numbers, intuitions, all of this stops being details and becomes part of a divine language trying to keep us on the right path. It's as if the invisible is always whispering, but we only hear it when we're silent inside. Have you ever experienced something like this? Share it below. That morning, I awoke with the weight of the dream still pulsing in my mind, a sense of urgency that felt almost physical. The number 444 shone on my phone screen like an insistent beacon that wouldn't let me forget. Something was telling me to do something different, to break out of the automatic routine I used to repeat every day. It was a subtle, almost imperceptible impulse, but enough for me to decide to change my route to work. I didn't even know why, but I trusted that inner calling as I deviated from my usual route. The silence of the traffic seemed more intense, as if the universe itself were holding its breath along with me. And it was there, as I headed in that new direction, that I received the news. A serious accident had occurred exactly on the road I normally took. A serious accident, the kind that paralyzes the city. It makes us reflect on the fragility of life and the importance of the decisions we make daily. The revelation was like a key turning in the lock of a door I hadn't yet dared to open. I had been protected, guided away from danger by something unseen, but certainly there, working behind the scenes of my journey. This angelic intervention wasn't just a fluke, a momentary stroke of luck. It was a clear message that there are forces working in our favor, even when everything seems chaotic or beyond our control. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this experience radically changed my mindset about life, chance, and spirituality. We often underestimate the impact of small decisions, changes in direction, and the signs that appear when we least expect them. But these details are, in fact, the turning points in our story. They are the moments when the hidden truth is revealed and transformation begins to happen. It was at that moment that I understood that my journey wasn't just mine. It was also part of a larger plan, an invisible dance between the visible and the invisible. What still impresses me today is how these angelic interventions present themselves. They're not always grand or spectacular. Like in the movies, often they're subtle, silent, almost imperceptible. A shift in thinking, a sign on the path, a dream, a repeating number. But the effect is so profound that it reverberates throughout our lives. And, at the same time, it invites us to look within, to make conscious decisions, to act with greater presence and purpose. It's not a help that eliminates effort or responsibility, it's a support that strengthens us to face our challenges with greater clarity and courage. And what about the impact this has on our way of seeing the world? When you go through an experience like this, everything transforms. Fear gives way to confidence. Doubt gives way to the certainty that there is a greater order, even if invisible. Routine gains meaning. Decisions that once seemed random become understood as part of a larger movement, a delicate orchestration guiding every step. For many, this revelation is the turning point that awakens the desire to seek more knowledge, to expand consciousness, to change one's life. Because when we realize we are not alone, that there is an invisible presence working behind the scenes, our sense of purpose expands, and the spiritual journey takes on a new dimension. It becomes a daily, practical experience that influences every choice, every thought, every action. I want you to think, now, what if you were in this moment, guided by these forces? How would that change your mindset, your decisions? It's an invitation to broaden your perspective and open your heart to these revelations that go beyond reason, but speak directly to the soul. The journey isn't just external, it's an internal transformation, a true alchemy of the being. If you felt this energy, say, I receive. At that moment, a profound clarity invaded my mind and heart. Everything finally fell into place. Like the pieces of a puzzle I hadn't known I was putting together. The number 444 that seemed to insist on appearing at the most unexpected moments. The vivid and urgent dream, the inner voice that wouldn't leave me alone. None of this was a coincidence, nor a simple numerical sequence or a figment of my imagination. It was a real sign, a direct message, a clear attempt by an angel to protect me, to warn me of an imminent danger I had almost missed. This revelation wasn't just a relief. It transformed my understanding of reality and the connection between the material and spiritual worlds. I began to realize that there's a hidden truth that few have the courage to explore. A dimension where unseen forces guide our decisions and show us paths when we're about to make potentially fatal mistakes. This realization had such a profound impact that it changed my mindset about how I make decisions, about the importance of paying attention to the signs that appear in our daily lives and in our minds. What struck me most was understanding that angelic intervention is not a privilege exclusive to a select few, but something accessible to all who are open to it. There is an invisible network of care and guidance that operates silently, often through details that common logic dismisses or ignores as mere coincidence. But for those who are attentive, these signs reveal the behind the scenes of our own journey, where each step has meaning and each warning is an opportunity to transform the course of our lives. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this understanding has led me on an intense journey of self-knowledge and personal transformation. I began to investigate how these messages manifest and to study their impact on our ability to choose and act consciously. The hidden truth that once seemed distant and mystical has become a tangible reality that shapes not only critical moments, but the entire course of our existence. This experience taught me that an open mindset toward the invisible doesn't mean losing control, but rather gaining a new kind of control, one that comes from connecting with something greater, expanding our vision, and giving us tools to deal with everyday challenges with greater wisdom and serenity. It's a wake-up call to a journey of discovery that goes beyond what meets the eye, but directly touches the essence of human beings. I want you to imagine this possibility now, that there is a constant presence, acting in the background, ready to intervene when life puts you at risk or when it needs to guide your choices so you can find the best path. This notion changes the way we view chance and luck, bringing to light the idea that we are always surrounded by forces of protection and love working for our highest good. From that moment on, everything that seemed casual took on new meaning and importance. Decisions began to be made more carefully, and inner listening became a fundamental ally. The impact of this change wasn't limited to the dream episode or the number 444, but opened doors to a profound transformation in my life journey. If you have ever felt this energy, say, "I receive." After that day, something within me began to transform silently but profoundly. The connection with the spiritual world, which had previously seemed distant, almost abstract, began to manifest itself in every detail of my daily life, like a constant presence that guided me quietly but with impressive power. This change wasn't just about noticing signs, but about a true internal revolution that affected my mindset, my decisions, and the way I approached life. From that moment on, the feeling of walking alone gave way to a realization that I was on a journey much greater than I had imagined. A journey where every choice has a real impact, where hidden truths are gradually revealed, and behind the scenes of existence, something much deeper unfolds, directly influencing our destiny. This personal transformation highlighted the importance of paying attention not only to what the eyes see, but also to what intuition and the soul whisper in moments of silence and reflection. I began to notice small changes in my daily life, signs that would previously have gone unnoticed, as if the universe were speaking directly to me. This new mindset made me understand that the decisions we make, no matter how simple they seem, carry enormous weight and can be influenced by these invisible forces. The impact this had on my life was so significant that I began to value inner listening as a fundamental tool for navigating the powerful transformations that were taking place. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this change wasn't instantaneous, but a gradual evolution that opened doors to surprising revelations. Understanding this new dynamic led me to revisit past moments and recognize how, perhaps, many of these signs were already there, waiting for me to be ready to perceive them. This journey of self-discovery has brought me a closer look at the behind the scenes of my own existence, where coincidences ceased to be mere coincidences and became pieces of a larger puzzle, laden with meaning. Furthermore, this transformation also affected the way I deal with fear and life's uncertainties. Previously, I might have completely ignored the dream and the sign of number 444, perhaps thinking they were just figments of imagination or chance. But the hidden truth I gradually uncovered showed me that being open to these messages is a decisive step toward a life more aligned with our purpose and protected against the dangers we cannot rationally foresee. It was a process that shook my essence, how I understood what is real and what goes beyond what the senses perceive. This personal transformation gave me greater clarity to recognize when intuition should be respected, to realize that there is a greater connection at work behind the scenes of our daily lives, and that this connection can be a powerful resource for those who desire to grow and transform from the inside out. From this new mindset, I realized that living with this awareness changes everything: the impact on the decisions we make, the way we face challenges, and even the way we relate to the world and the people around us. This realization became a driving force to continue seeking answers, to be attentive to revelations that emerge in unexpected ways, and to understand that our journey is much more complex and fascinating than we imagined. Now, following this line, we can see that the 444 signal was not just a momentary wake-up call, but an invitation to a new way of life, a life where transformation occurs through deep listening and the courage to look at the invisible with respect and curiosity. This shift in consciousness allows us to recognize that we are constantly evolving, and that each sign can be a call to move forward, to make decisions more aligned with our true path. From this awakening onward, everything took on new meaning, and the way we interpret everyday events became enriched by a vision that integrated the spiritual and the material, the visible and the invisible. This fusion opens the way for a broader understanding of our journey, where the impact of each choice reverberates not only in the present, but throughout our entire existence. If you've ever experienced something like this, share it below. The energy surrounding the number 444 goes far beyond what we can grasp at first glance. In spiritual numerology, this number is a true symbol of divine protection, a clear sign that angels and beings of light are nearby, ready to guide and support you in your most difficult moments. It's as if heaven itself is manifesting itself, sending a direct and reassuring message: you are not alone. And this sense of support goes beyond comfort. It's a force that transforms the way we face our daily challenges and choices. When 444 appears repeatedly, it's not just a number, but an invitation to open the eyes of the soul and realize that we are under a veil of invisible, yet very real, care. This spiritual awakening brings a profound shift in mindset, as it makes clear that, even in times of uncertainty, there is subtle guidance working behind the scenes of our existence. This angelic presence, symbolized by 444, also represents the need to maintain a constant connection with this higher energy, as it is in this alignment that we find the strength to face the most difficult decisions and moments of crisis. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding the meaning of 444 means understanding that spirituality isn't something distant or abstract, but rather an active and present part of our journey. The message of this sacred number is, above all, a call for us to strengthen our inner faith, the confidence that drives us forward even when the path seems murky. The impact of this revelation goes far beyond the symbolic. It can be a turning point in our lives, the bridge between what we feel in our hearts and what we choose to manifest in the material world. Furthermore, this angelic presence represented by 444 serves as a constant reminder of the importance of spiritual vigilance and self-knowledge. Knowing that we are not isolated, that we have greater protection at work, helps us face internal and external battles with a new, more centered and balanced mindset. The hidden truth behind this number manifests itself in the awareness that we are part of a much larger network, where every thought, every action, and every decision has an effect that reverberates far beyond the immediate. When we begin to accept this guidance and protection, we enter a phase of transformation where life begins to align with higher purposes, where challenges lose some of their daunting weight and begin to be seen as opportunities for growth and evolution. This new vision is essential for us to truly connect with the essence of who we are and what we came here to do, bringing deeper meaning to our journey. The presence of 444 is also an invitation to recognize our role in the greater fabric of existence as active participants, not just spectators. It's a call to adopt a more conscious approach to life, knowing that the decisions we make influence not only our destiny but also the energies around us. From this understanding, the journey ceases to be simply about survival and becomes about creating, transforming, and manifesting all that aligns with our inner truth. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding this connection takes us to a new dimension of spirituality, a dimension where the sacred and the everyday intertwine, and where each sign received is a portal to even greater revelations. This expanded awareness shows us that angels are not just symbols or distant figures, but real allies, working in tune with the universe to help us navigate life's complexities with greater clarity and purpose. This energy carried by 444 is, in essence, a form of loving remembrance, a force that invites us to open our eyes to the presence of the divine in everything we do and in every moment we live. It's an awakening that transforms not only how we perceive the world, but especially how we perceive ourselves within it. Recognizing this protection helps us find emotional and spiritual balance, even in the face of turbulence, and strengthens us to move forward with renewed confidence. When we understand this meaning, it becomes clear that 444 is more than just a number. It's a key to accessing a hidden truth, to penetrating the depths of existence and capturing the message that only those who are truly attentive can hear. This perception opens the way for a profound internal transformation that reverberates in all areas of life, bringing more light, more peace, and more purpose to every step of our journey. Comment below. This makes sense to me. It's amazing how, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we can be surrounded by powerful signs and not even realize it. The number 444 may be repeatedly appearing before your eyes, like a whisper from the universe, a clear message that insists on penetrating your routine and reaching your consciousness, but often, we pass it by, distracted, thinking it's just a coincidence. And then, that deep uneasiness arises. What if I'm ignoring something much bigger? What if these numbers are a way for angels to warn me, to protect me, and I'm simply not listening? This possibility triggers a fear that paradoxically can be a crucial turning point. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because this ignoring the sign is no small detail. It affects our mindset and, most importantly, the decisions we make. The hidden truth is that every time we ignore these warnings, we are, without realizing it, giving up a real chance for transformation and opportunity to change the course of our journey, to avoid dangers or obstacles that could be mitigated, or even eliminated. This silent impact reverberates not only in the spiritual realm but directly affects our daily lives, the way we relate to ourselves and the world. Thinking about this brings a sense of urgency and responsibility. If there's a clear sign of protection and guidance, ignoring it could mean missing the chance for a deep alignment with our purpose, with what truly matters. It's an invitation to a powerful reflection on how we are connected to the invisible, forces that govern our lives, and it's precisely this awareness that can trigger an inner transformation, changing our way of perceiving reality and the choices we make. This fear, when faced with courage, can become a driving force for change. It's as if the angels, through 444, are saying, "Don't put off until tomorrow what can save your today." And this message carries a call to action, for us to become more attentive to details, more present, more willing to listen to the voices that come from behind the scenes of existence. Those signs that once seemed like small noises become recognized as true guides, indispensable for navigating the transformations that life imposes. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this journey of paying attention to and connecting with the signs is neither linear nor simple. It requires a shift in mindset, a willingness to let go of skepticism and absolute control, to trust in a greater wisdom that manifests itself through subtle means, often camouflaged as numbers, dreams, sensations, or synchronicities that escape common logic. It is in this process that we discover how spirituality can be a powerful tool for personal evolution, showing that life is a sequence of impactful decisions, each of which can be illuminated by this angelic guidance. This recognition that we are being protected and that ignoring these signs can have consequences brings a hidden truth, almost invisible to many, but which, when discovered, transforms everything. The realization that we are not adrift, that there is a greater purpose guiding every step, and that it is up to us to tune into this frequency to actively participate in this network of light and protection. It is an invitation to take the lead in our own lives, connecting with this force that transcends the material and opens doors to revelations that can change our destiny. Each time we heed these signals, we open space for a journey of genuine transformation, where fear ceases to be an enemy and becomes an ally, signal to slow down, observe, reflect, and act more wisely. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it's the constant impact of this connection that shapes a new mindset, one that's more open, more sensitive to messages that arrive in unexpected ways, and more aware of our role in the grand theater of life. So, if you've been seeing 444 frequently, it might be time to start paying closer attention. The universe is trying to tell you something very important, and the decision to listen could be the turning point on a journey marked by discovery and growth. A hidden truth few realize is that these signs are a subtle form of intervention, a call to awaken and align mind, body, and spirit with a greater purpose. Comment. This message was for me. Chat said, when we begin to open our eyes to these signs, we realize we're not alone in this experience. The number 444 isn't just a numerical sequence, it's a living symbol of connection, an invisible link that connects our lives to something greater, a force that works silently behind the scenes of our existence. And that's where the power of sharing comes in, because, deep down, what transforms us most is hearing and sharing real stories, the ones that touch our hearts, that make us rethink, that renew our faith in the journey. It's in the exchange of experiences that we find meaning, strength, and even inspiration to continue even when the path seems cloudy. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because true connection happens when we realize that each story, each experience with these signs, is an essential piece in the puzzle of collective transformation. It's as if we were weaving a web of light, where each thread carries a story, of overcoming, of warning, of miracles, and of learning. And the impact of this goes beyond the individual. It creates a movement of awakening that can reverberate throughout entire communities, that changes people's mindsets and challenges limiting beliefs that impede spirituality. Then, ceases to be something abstract and becomes a concrete, tangible force that guides decisions and changes destinies. This exchange of stories also allows us to understand the behind the scenes of this journey of faith. Many face doubts, fears, and even skepticism from those around them, but they persist in seeking meaning in these signs, even when everything seems to conspire against their belief. It's a process that requires courage and humility, because opening our hearts to the unknown isn't always easy. But it's precisely in this vulnerability that we find the hidden truth. That profound knowledge that can't be put into words but can transform lives forever. And with each shared story, this truth grows stronger, creating a safe space where miracles can blossom. It's fascinating to consider how much these encounters with the invisible impact our mindset, and how decisions made based on this connection can trigger a true personal revolution. It's not just about seeing a number or interpreting a dream, but about understanding that life is a sequence of revelations and choices that shape our destiny. And when we recognize the importance of these signs, we begin to live with greater attention, sensitivity, and, above all, courage to embrace the changes that arise along the way. This is the essence of true transformation, the kind that happens from the inside out, reaching all areas of life. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because building this network of stories and experiences is a powerful form of collective awakening. When you share your story, you're not only strengthening your own faith, but also illuminating the path for others who may be lost, confused, or even skeptical. It's an invitation to reflection, self-knowledge, and openness. Two new possibilities that are often hidden between the lines of everyday life. And it's precisely this openness that can lead to unexpected revelations, to the discovery of an inner strength capable of transforming any challenge into a learning experience. Furthermore, when we talk about this journey of connection with the angelic kingdom, it's crucial to remember that each person has their own time, pace, and struggles. The path isn't always linear, and patience is an indispensable virtue for those seeking to fine-tune with the messages and guidance that come through these signs. The transformation they propose goes far beyond what the superficial view can grasp. It requires dedication, surrender, and the willingness to be guided by something greater, even when logic and reason try to convince us otherwise. It's a true journey of faith, courage, and self-discovery. This exchange of experiences also reveals the underlying doubts many face: fear of the unknown, insecurity about misinterpreting something, or even the feeling of isolation from experiencing something few understand. But it is precisely by opening this space for dialogue, by creating a community that embraces these narratives, that we find the strength to move forward, to overcome obstacles, and to transform fear into faith. And this faith, strengthened by the impact of real stories, becomes the foundation for decisions that can completely change the course of our lives. So, if you've ever been through something like this, if you've felt these signs, or if you're even beginning to notice these small miracles in your daily life, I invite you to share them with me in the comments. Let's build together this space of light and hope, where faith, miracles, and real stories can be celebrated and multiplied, because your experience could be exactly what someone needs to awaken, connect, and transform their own reality. After all, this journey isn't just yours, it's a collective movement, a silent revolution that has the power to touch many lives. Comment below. This makes sense to me. We truly immerse ourselves in this journey. We begin to understand that nothing happens by chance. Every detail, every sign, every apparent coincidence carries a hidden meaning that can only be perceived by those who are attentive to the call of transformation. The mind that opens to this experience completely changes the way it sees the world, the decisions it makes, and even the truths that previously seemed unattainable. It's a profound impact, a silent revolution that takes place in the soul, altering our perception of reality and revealing the hidden depths of a greater force that has always been there, subtle yet powerful. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because recognizing these signs and accepting that there is divine intervention in our lives is just the beginning of a much larger process. It's as if this spiritual opening holds the key to a universe of revelations and discoveries that surpass anything we can imagine. Our mindset transforms, our habits change, and the journey of life itself takes on new meaning, a clearer sense of purpose. This awareness awakens not only a sense of protection, but also a greater responsibility regarding the choices and path we choose to follow. This hidden truth, manifested through the number 444 and other angelic signs, carries an essential message. You are not alone. And this certainty is the foundation for building unshakable faith, even in the face of the most intense challenges. It's an invitation to trust in the invisible, to see beyond appearances, and to understand that every step, no matter how small, is aligned with a greater divine plan. This realization changes the way we face fear, doubt, and even failure, for we now know they are merely stages in our soul's evolution. By living this experience, the impact is not just personal. The transformation spreads, reaching those around us, creating a wave of light and hope that can positively influence entire communities. The spiritual journey that begins with a simple sign can then become a collective movement, where sharing true stories strengthens connections between people and multiplies the power of faith. It is behind the scenes of this exchange that miracles are born, the hidden forces that sustain life even when everything seems uncertain. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because what many don't realize is that this connection with the angelic kingdom requires more than just belief. It demands a real change in the way we live, feel, and decide. It's an invitation to align our thoughts, words, and actions with this energy of protection and guidance, so that the positive impact manifests in all areas of life. This journey is challenging because it forces us to confront our limitations, break with old patterns, and embrace a new mindset that values the sacred in everyday life. The path of transformation, though intense, is also a source of profound revelations about who we truly are and what our purpose here is. And it is in this process that we discover that the angel who protects us is always present, even when we don't realize it, guiding our decisions and illuminating our uncertain steps. This awareness brings a peace that transcends rational understanding, an inner certainty that we are being cared for and that every sign, every number that appears, is a reminder of this constant presence. As this connection strengthens, we begin to live with greater awareness and gratitude, realizing that each moment is an opportunity for growth and that adversity is, in fact, an invitation to evolve. It's a transformation that goes beyond the superficial. altering our worldview and aligning us with a higher frequency, where hidden truth is revealed in details that previously seemed insignificant. This is the magic of those who choose to listen to the divine signs and allow themselves to be guided by them. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the meaning of these signs and embracing this journey could be what's needed to unlock a new cycle of prosperity, health, and happiness. The impact of this change is so real that, when we look back, we realize how our lives were shaped by these invisible forces that have always worked in our favor. This is the essence of true transformation, the kind that happens from the inside out and manifests itself in all dimensions of our being. If this story touched your heart, you already know you're facing something that can change your life forever. So, I invite you to connect even more with this universe of signs and guidance that the divine places on your path. This journey is unique for each person, but the power of connection and awakening is something we can share and strengthen together, right? There, I'm on this journey, too. If you've made it this far, it's because this story truly resonated with you, and that already creates a special connection between us. This exchange of experiences and these insights into the signs we receive are incredibly valuable for those seeking real transformation in their lives. If you feel like you're part of this journey, that this message was made for you, leave a comment. I'm with you until the end. I want to know who is truly connected to this search for meaning and protection. And if this video touched your heart and opened your eyes to something new, feel free to leave a like, because it helps strengthen this chain of learning and inspiration we're building here. It's not just a click, it's a sign that you want to continue receiving this kind of content that truly makes a difference. There's a video here that elaborates on this topic in a very special way, so click there and follow along. The journey is just beginning, and together we'll explore even more of these mysteries and truths that can transform your life. See you soon.